letting me beat up grass.
Hey guys, welcome to Show and Tell Comic Review. That's the show. He questions everything. We buy boxes of random indie comics from comic book stores all over the U.S. and review what they send us. You know how social media works. Look what we got.
Alright guys, so today's comic is called Cromwell Stone. It was both written and illustrated by an artist and writer named Andreas. That's just the name that he has. I think that his last name is technically Martins, so he's actually a German creator. Now, Cromwell Stone is a graphic novel that was actually adapted from a European novel, so this is a translated work that we were reading. So it basically follows Cromwell Stone. He's one of 13 passengers who survived a ship voyage that was mutinied. Now, these 13 people were left to basically die in the middle of the sea, but they ended up being rescued. And after that, they actually vowed to meet every year on December 20th as a sort of commemoration and to keep in touch with one another. But when all of a sudden, death seems to start taking, the surviving members, and their numbers start to decrease and decrease. Cromwell takes it upon himself to investigate the matter, especially when one of his closer friends ends up missing. I think his name was Farley. And this ends up taking him, through a pretty wild, transcending adventure. And that's pretty much the gist of it. So, now that we know what the comic is about, Dan, what do you got for us, man?
A whole lot of fucking questions. Oh, Jesus Christ. First of all, right off the rip, the art, I feel like, goes back to like an MC Escher lithograph style. It wasn't cross-hatching, it wasn't sketching. I feel like every one of those panels were carved out of fucking rubber pads. I feel like there was a lot missing from this story. Oh, and how about Bob sent me all of it minus page 8, and I was like, wait a minute, maybe page 8 is the fucking keystone. This is what I've been missing the whole time. Fucking no, this shit.
Did not work out yet.
Yeah, I'm gonna agree with Daniel.
What are you doing?
Like, I had no idea what was going on, man. I read the words. I read the words on the page. I didn't understand what they were talking about. I mean, I can read English. You know what I'm saying? I knew the words I was reading, but they led me nowhere. They made no sense. I love the art. Fabulous, man. Sometimes I had to stare at the panel for 10 minutes before it all came in, and it was
there was a
fabulous.
lot
Like you said,
going on.
A lot of Escher-like feelings going on. That was my first thought, and and then it got to page 12, and he's making measurements, and I'm like, is this a fucking love it or list it? Like, what's happening now? I have no idea what's going on. I still don't. I don't know where you got all that stuff, Christian. You're a far superior mind.
Let the audience look behind the curtain.
Oh, dude, no.
I was lost through the whole thing. This is the extent of my notes. Okay, that's it.
That's it.
I couldn't keep up.
The whole page is just one big question mark. That's what my notes look like.
No, dude, listen. Okay, so is it safe to say that both of you, like, how did you feel about the story? Well, let's just tackle that first. How'd you feel about the story?
What story?
That's the thing. The story was there.
Art aside.
Right. The story was there. It was not told well. You had to really use your fucking imagination to piece some shit together. Like the very last page, me and my daughter sat out here and stared at that last page for what had to have been 20 minutes. And the two of us sat together. She's 16. The two of us sat together and tried to figure out what the fuck this page meant. Because there's a story in that last page with no words, right? There's actually a lot of fucking pages with no words that left you guessing, and the art wasn't doing the trick to continue the story. So, but that last panel, we finally figured it out, I think. But you're still left to guess. We don't really actually know.
Right.
You know?
Did you figure it out? Yeah, that's the question.
I didn't.
I
I still have no idea what's going on. This guy with the what's his name? Oh, hold on, I do have this note. Hold on. Oh, Gordon Globe. Okay, when he shows up, this is the feel I get from him. I like to feast in darkness. You know?
Yeah.
So every time he
His
spoke,
movements
that's what
was-
I'm hearing.
yeah.
Like, how are you doing today, Mr. Cromwell? I'm like, what? I just don't know
Like
what's
Vincent
going on.
Price.
Yeah.
That was funny.
Um,
So okay, so the thing is, it's like, yeah, no, story wise, I felt about the same way as you guys. I was confused as hell, and the reason I was confused as hell is because art aside, because the art had its issues, and I'll get into that later. But story wise, the creator was obviously going for that ambiguity, where he was trying to be ambiguous and trying to like egg you on to keep reading and stuff, but he
Well,
was
we-
being
yeah.
too ambiguous.
Yeah,
To
we
the
needed it
point-
more like the ambiguously gay duo. You know what I'm saying? Like you can obviously tell what's going on. You know what I mean?
Right.
Yeah, like totally. and
Right.
the darkness of this comic speaks a lot for how I left at the end of this comic, completely in the dark.
Yeah, and the thing is, like, I feel that the issue is that, you know, he chose to be this ambiguous with a story that was too fantastic.
Yeah.
Because this is a story where, like, you have to throw logic out the window because it's about transcendence. He's entering portals and, you know, visiting the past and then coming back to the future, and then, like, stuff is, like, breaking and transforming all around him. This is like Stephen King's shit. You can't be that ambiguous when you're talking about stuff that is already that confusing and mind-bending. And I feel that that's where, you know, and the writing failed, because then it just left us going, what the hell's going on, but not in the good way.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It wouldn't have taken much more writing to fix that either. To just explain a couple of panels here and there.
Right.
The panels were set up pretty dope though. There was a lot of movement on these pages, that's for sure.
I strongly disagree, but we'll get to that.
I do
No.
too. There was a lot. Let me tell you. Well, we'll go ahead and start it or get into that now, because if I'd had my way, mine and Chris's first project, that's what our shit would have looked like. I had like fucking 20 panels on a page, like there's a lot of shit going on. It was all cluttered. And I see
That is
now
true.
what a mistake that would have been, you know?
It's not always bad to be in last place. Here's some things we can focus on. 1, we tried hard. And 2, we're still dear friends.
Like, I'm glad we went back to the traditional panel side, because
Yeah.
I mean, with our story, I think it would have been okay, but it wouldn't have flowed as well as it does now. But
No,
this
it's-
one, it pumped the brakes on this, because it was so hard to read just to try to put the story together. And
Yeah.
now I'm having to, examine each and every. I mean, beautiful panels, but if they'd have put 5 or maybe even 7 panels on a page instead of 10 to 12, you know what I mean? It would have been a lot easier to follow. Yeah, I thought it looked great. You know what I'm saying? Like the dynamic of the panels and how everything's flowing. It looks great, but when you actually sit down and try to read it, it made it a lot more difficult for me.
Fair.
Yeah, I know. I agree. The thing is that this comic pained me from an artistic point of view. It actually pained me a lot, because at first glance the art was fantastic. I loved it. But
Yeah.
the issue was that the visual storytelling, which includes the paneling, was just not it for the art style. You know, like, it killed the art for me, because, like, you know, you're giving me 5 or 6 panels that are this skinny, and in that one panel, you're trying to fit an entire world. That doesn't work, man. And there
It's
were
so-
so many shots in this comic that were just completely unnecessary. Where they
So
were
you-
just like they were just putting it there to fill up space.
Yeah.
Because I
Some of
couldn't
the
think
panels,
of a
like the
single
ones,
use.
the panels you're talking about, like a lot of them were like that, like these long
The
straight
vertical,
panels, and it was
yeah.
so small that you couldn't even fit the what they needed to say within. They had to bust it up top and spread it out
Yeah.
because it was so
Yeah.
narrow.
Exactly, and the
definitely-
same thing with the drawings. Like it was too condensed, and the art style that he used, which is cross hatching. That's technically what that is. It's and it does resemble MC Escher a lot. But that particular style of cross hatching that he used was is like a Victorian style cross hatching, which is what they used to like draw like in old manuscripts and things like that. They use this Victorian style. But the issue is that it's already a messy style. So like you have to read it to know what it is that it's making. So when you make the panels this tiny and you condense everything in there, you're just creating a clusterfuck of lines that I can't, like I have to stare at it, like Bob said, for 10 minutes just to make out what it is first, and then see how it fits into the already confusing story. Like it had me frustrated as hell, man.
Like I'm looking at page 43. The very first panel is a beautiful shot, man. It's beautiful of this bar that they had walked into, and there's this thing. I guess I don't know if it's a real person or a statue with a sword, but past him you can see the ceiling, and it's fantastic. But you really have to look at it. You know what I mean? Because it really is so dark that you have to take each beam in to see that that's one beam there, another beam behind it, another. Otherwise, it looks like beams stacked on top of each other if you really don't stop to look at it. But you really have to get into the wall behind it. It's really difficult. It's beautiful, but hard to look at. It's I don't know. I don't know how to describe it really.
It is, and the thing is, a lot of pages had me feeling that way, where there were certain shots in that page where I was like, "That's nice. That's a nice shot." But then, the ones that follow it, I was just like, what am I even looking at? Because like page 7, in the second row, the second panel, I love that shot because, you're using black and white to get two different sources of lighting, which is tough to do, but it was beautifully done. I love that panel. Every other panel in this page, I fucking hate. I couldn't stand it. Because, like, for example, you look at the panels right above, okay, like that one where he's walking with the briefcase in his hand. Why is he out of the shot? Like, what are you showing me on that wall that he needs to be out of the shot for? Like, that really bothered me. There was no use for that.
There was another one they did that in, where they had several in a row, and he was walking down the street. Oh, it was when the cat scared him. Like, he's just running down the street. And again, no words. He says, what did he mean by that? Skip 2 panels. I have a feeling. And then the rest of the page is like 12 panels of him running. And then there's a cat. But there's one panel, there's nothing in the shot but the street and a light.
Yeah.
There's nothing ominous. There's no weird figure in the background. There's not even him running. It doesn't illustrate where he's at or what he's doing. It does nothing. It's a useless picture.
It's trying to indicate that something might be following him.
Yeah.
I get the feeling, but
they were implying that he was being folled. Yeah.
So hold on. When you say that, something that struck me the second time I read it was
wow, you were able to get through it twice?
I had to. I couldn't figure it out. It was breaking me, dude. The art was like anyway, so it was it started making me feel like some of these empty panels were alluding more to there not actually being something there. And if you remember at the very beginning, there's some quote about fear being the actual problem, not the thing that is chasing you. It's the actual fear of it that is the real killer, right? So I think all of it is just saying that. This whole book is just saying that. I think I just now figured it out.
You don't know shit, buddy.
Is that he's running from nothing. And if we now go to that final picture where there's the two, it's a full page of Crown's apartment or his top floor. And then there's 2 little panels of him and Cromwell parting ways. He says, what are you doing? Oh, I'm gonna go. And then it says that he left his past behind, whatever. But then at the bottom, Crown's gone, but his jacket's on the fucking table. He's wearing the jacket in those 2 panels, and then his jacket's on the table next to a letter and a pen, and the window's open, and they illustrate the window being open by the smoke flowing out the window. So it seems like he's fucking jumped.
I have no idea. So, I just see there's a body on the floor. In that scene on the other side of the table, on the opposite side of his jacket, there's a body on the floor. It's so dark you can barely see it.
That's the dude with the black beard. Remember, he got his head split open and all the little alien bugs crawled out of him? So that's him laying there. And then there's all of the fucking skeletons next to the fireplace of the little alien bugs. That's what's burning right now.
That's what that is. See, that's what I'm...
Look, I told you it took me 20 minutes of staring with a partner helping me point shit out. She's like, "Is that a suicide note?"
You know, by the time this book was done, by the time I got to the end, I thought that whoever wrote this book, that Madonna, whoever Madonna wrote this book just so that they could draw these. Like, they had these pictures for 10 years, and they're like, "What can I do to put this in?" And they're like, "I got an idea." And then slapped a story on it. It was like, "Here you guys go." And I'm like, "What the fuck is this shit?"
Ariana said the same thing. She says somebody wrote a book just so they could show their artwork.
Turns out it was a novel. I hope the novel was better than the comic book, because this was not. I don't know nothing about the novel, but this can't be a good adaptation of it.
Now, I feel like some of it might be lost in translation too, because you say it was translated from somewhere, another European country. It was another story.
The thing is that it was written as a graphic novel. So like it wasn't a novel first; it was a graphic novel. But I think it was written in German originally, and then they translated it. So there is a lot that we could be missing. And then the other thing that happens with that is that there's a lot of cultural stuff that, you know, might be in the story that might make sense to a German, but not make sense to us because of our traditions. It's just, you know, overall, the story was very, like I said, it was very ambiguous, which is bad because it was already very confusing. You know, because you have all like you know, like, what the fuck are those aliens that crawl out of the sky? You know, like they just showed that, and we're supposed to just be like, yeah, okay, oh, that makes sense.
Well, no, they made it make less sense by having him see that after getting hit in the head mysteriously by nothing. The panel just shows him walking to the house, the building out back, and then a large explosion panel saying crack behind his head. He got hit by something. Don't know. And the only thing that alludes to what it was later the lady that ends up being the dude with the black beard, she's holding a fucking broken bottle.
What? What did you say?
No, yeah, you heard him right. You heard him right. That's what happened.
You didn't catch that, Robert?
No! I honestly did not know that!
Oh man, so she likes to feast in the darkness.
Yeah. No, you didn't catch at the end when he monologues?
Oh, dude, they had to do monologue. At page 25, my brain just read the words, and that was kind of the end of it.
Listen, the monologue was another thing that upset me, because at the beginning, he wasn't the one monologuing.
Yeah.
It was the other dude, the other bald, big-nosed dude that he meets.
Crown.
Exactly, Crown. And then now all of a sudden he's monologuing.
For a whole page?
Yeah.
There was a full page and like 8 fucking narrations. Shut up, dude.
Yeah, no, it was just yeah, too much.
I can't even find it. It's just so much, and there's 50
Don't waste your
pages. 50 pages, man. Oh my lord.
So like, okay, what about the characters? Like, you know, story aside, did any of the characters stand out to you guys?
Didn't like them. Didn't like them.
Just the one that likes to feast in darkness.
Harlan seemed pretty chill.
I mean, I don't know. Is he a villain? So she's the bad guy? Like, what is?
Yeah.
And who? But what is she bad about? Like, what did she do to make her?
They don't tell us, Bob. I don't know. They don't fucking tell us.
and we're not going to read the second issue, so I guess we'll never
This
know.
is
And
like
I'm
a
not
copy
hurting
of-
by that. I'm not hurt by that.
This is like a copy of highlights. We're supposed to take out our fucking pen and narrate and add dialogue. It's an interactive comic.
Right.
This is the perfect one for you to do your Monday morning writing, Bob.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah, but there's nothing to do it to. I mean, I could illustrate what I think about each page, like if it was like a display.
Shit. Trash. It's just
Right.
one
Check
page
out the
just like
beams.
rednecks over it. Get rid of this one.
One thing I will give to the comic, and I think it's mostly because of the art style, not because of the visual storytelling, but because of the art style, is that the world building was pretty okay. Like the elements of the world, the overall feel of the whole comic, like, from beginning to end, I felt like I was in this other place and that it was a cohesive, like I was in the same place the whole time.
No.
So I'll give him credit there, but I still can't give him too much credit.
I personally couldn't claw my way into their world with anything. I just couldn't wrap my brain around any of it.
I could almost never tell where we were in the story, like geographically. Like, where the fuck are you standing right now? Are you in a bar? Are you in a cafe? Are you in the fucking library at your mansion you just rented? Like, where the fuck are you?
That's what happens when your panels are this fucking skinny,
Yeah.
bro.
But even the panel where they go to the bar, like the first time they show up in this tavern, I guess. I had to read the dialogue before I realized that they weren't in the house anymore. Like even when he was outside running around, I thought those were like parts of the house that he was exploring, because last I heard, the dude wasn't even going to show him around. I thought they were standing in front of the house. Of course, it was so confusing. They were standing in front of the lawyer's office, but then the lawyer left, so leaving me believing. So he's standing there while the lawyer's leaving. Like, okay, so he must be at the house. And then you're walking through, and I'm like, damn, this is a big ass fucking house. Like, is this like? Anyway, it was just insane, dude. I couldn't keep up.
That did happen to me with the
Proves
very
how
first
smart you
page.
are.
The very first page, I was like, where the hell is this guy? And if it weren't for that really big panel at the bottom where it finally shows that it's like a bay where like the waves are crashing, I wouldn't have. I wouldn't have missed it at all.
Were you able to pick the house out of the cliff?
No.
The house is actually, so Crown's house, not 23, not the house he rents that what's his name, Farley disappeared from. But Crown's house is on a cliff, like midway up the cliffside, held up by sticks.
I see it now.
It's pretty dope. That was the only time I knew they was at Crown's house.
I don't know, man. I'm trying to give this comic something. Because the thing is, like what kept me going was the art. I kept admiring certain panels because, again, most of them were these long vertical panels that just were not doing the story any justice. And a lot of them, I had to really stare at it to see what was going on because they were just too messy, too cluttered. But a few of them stuck out to me. And overall, like the line work was beautiful. I'll give them credit in the sense that like not all the characters looked the same. Like they each had their own unique style. They were easy to differentiate. But that's about as much as I can say about the comic. I mean, overall, I wouldn't read this again, nor would I recommend it to anyone.
Yes. You'll never get that time back. I have to ask this question, though. There's a little girl standing here at the end. She's holding this wild-looking thing. It looks like it was created by AI. What is it?
Nobody knows.
Okay. So.
Nobody knows. So he has... Cromwell has a rock with that drawn on it, and apparently this rock is what allows him to travel through the portals and through time and shit, right? And then somehow Crown has the actual 3D form of what's drawn on this little amulet, their little fucking medallion, and for some reason I think that's the key that everybody's looking for. And for some reason, he just fucking yeets it into the ocean out the window. Like, he says it had a power that attracted me to it uncontrollably, right? That's not verbatim, but he said, I never figured out what the power was, though. Yeet! Out the window. Don't store. And then he literally says, so what you gonna do, Cromwell? I'm going back. To what, dude? Like, what are you talking about? Oh my God, I hated this one.
I was this close to picking another comic and sending you guys another comic just in case.
Yeah, the artist was this close to having a panel with the dude with the beard going, and then I've tied him to a railroad track.
Yeah, don't go waste your money, man. I mean, it's from 1992. But even in 1992, I wouldn't give it a pass. This is just...
Well, that's the thing. It was translated in 92, but it was actually published in 82 back in Germany.
Oh, I see. Well, see, even in 92, we were so stupid with translations, you know what I mean? Like, we would translate something into Japan, or Japanese. I'm white. And then retranslate it, and it would be like Super Monkey Donkey Dog, you know, and it'd be like...
Hey, we go back now. It's at 82. We go back to what Christian said earlier about the cultural differences, and even go back fucking 40 years ago, cultural differences to now. We definitely are not going to understand what the fuck they're trying to say. That doesn't mean it wasn't trash. It was still trash.
Well, this comic is confusing. If you're super intelligent, you'll probably figure it out, but you still won't like it. The art's awesome, man. If you can stand staring at a 4-inch panel for 10 minutes.
Right.
So, yeah, I don't know. It just ain't worth it, man. It ain't worth it. But that's all we got for you today, guys. As usual, I don't know what the fuck we're doing next week, so just tune in and check out our shorts. That's how you're going to find out. See you guys.
See you.
Wake me up before you go. Take me dancing tonight.